You're watching this because you know our civilization is at a tipping point. You feel the pain of all life suffering on Earth. You know that we must respond to our climate changing and recognize our responsibility to protect as well as live in balance with nature. You know that in order for the world to change, humanity must come together. You hear an inner voice urging you to actively make our world a better, more loving, and peaceful place for all life. And now, you recognize that the only way for there to be change is for humanity to move away from the current system and build a new one dedicated to protecting Earth and living in balance with nature. Hello, my name is DJ, and my mission is to recreate ancient Atlantis by creating a community focused on moving humanity towards a Type 1 civilization. My mission began at birth. My twin brother and I were born on Monday, March 31st, 1980, during a severe thunderstorm. I was born at New York Infirmary Hospital, which is now known as New York Presbyterian Hospital of Lower Manhattan. Right before my mother became pregnant with my brother and I, she was diagnosed with asthma. During the pregnancy, the doctors had warned my mother that the chances of having a major asthmatic attack during the delivery were extremely high. But determined to have us, she went forward with the pregnancy despite the danger to her life. Sure enough, just seconds after delivering us, my mom had a major asthmatic attack. The next thing that she remembered seeing was the room spin, and she felt a strong wave of nausea come over her. Then she was jolted out of her body and started floating right above her body. She could see and hear everything in the delivery room. She could see the doctors and the medical staff performing emergency procedures to revive her. She then felt a stronger pulling sensation which lifted her through the ceiling of the delivery room, through the roof of the hospital, and into the sky. She remembered floating in a dark tunnel that had a bright light at the end of it. This light was brighter than anything that she had ever seen before. It was at this moment that she remembered seeing and reliving every moment of her life, and can feel all of the emotions that every living being that she had encountered felt as a result of meeting her. She had the feeling that life flashes at the blink of an eye, and as she approached the bright light, she could see the silhouette of people that she knew in this life and in past lives. She described feeling the most love that you could ever feel in your entire life, and multiply it by eternity, and you still would not be close to feeling the love that was present there. She was not afraid and felt incredibly safe and at peace. It was communicated by the light that my mom had completed her mission on Earth, and as a result was offered the choice to move into the light or go back to Earth. She knew that if she went into the light, she would have the understanding of all universal truth. She would understand things that humans would have a very hard time understanding. My mom remembered my sister crying on their way to the hospital and did not want to leave her children behind and chose to come back to Earth. She then remembers being terrified of coming back to Earth. She described it as the same feeling we get when we are worried about dying, but on a much higher level. The next thing that she remembered was falling back into her body and feeling the weight and discomfort of being in what she describes as her meat suit. The doctors had said that she had been flatlined for over 3 minutes. While this was happening, the doctors were trying to revive me and my brother because the umbilical cord was wrapped around our throats, and we were not breathing. Unfortunately, the doctors were not able to revive my brother, but they were able to revive me. At this point, my memory begins. I remember falling from the sky, smaller and moving faster than all the raindrops around me. I remember feeling like a tiny soul speed racing down through the raindrops and crashing through the roof of the hospital, into the delivery room, and into my body. I remember that my brother, on the way down, stopped suddenly as he could not come to Earth with me because it was his mission to guide me from that dimension. I can remember feeling terrified to go without him. That was the last thing I remembered until I was 3 years old and started remembering my past lives. There are many times that my brother has saved my life, from car accidents, being attacked multiple times at gunpoint, and in every situation where I have been in danger. I've always been surrounded by strong spiritual energies and can sense when they are around. I started remembering my past lives going back to ancient Atlantis, as well as past lives on other planets when I was 3 years old. The neurologist that diagnosed me with autism ADHD, and dyslexia believed that my neurodiversity was created as a result of the trauma caused to my brain during my birth. My physiology is naturally hardwired to feel on a much higher and deeper level. My early childhood seemed normal on the surface. I went to Catholic school from 1st to 8th grade. My mom pulled me from puppet school when my teacher said that I was retarded. Catholic school wasn't good. I was sexually abused and was often bullied and made fun of. I felt my brother and the spiritual energies around me always present, especially during these hard times. I used movies as an escape to get through the trauma. My neurodiverse brain found patterns in the movies that could help me unlock memories from my past lives. Movies such as Splash, Cocoon, Popeye, Rocket Gibraltar, and Mannequin were a few of the movies that helped me remember my past lives. When I was 4 years old, the movie Splash, starring Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah, was released. In the movie, Tom Hanks falls in love with a mermaid from Atlantis who is played by Daryl Hannah. They meet and fall in love and return to Atlantis together. I saw this movie in 1984 and watched it repeatedly. Daryl Hannah is autistic, as am I, and my first full name is also Daryl. The movie takes place in New York City, which is where I was born and raised. The movie Cocoon is about a group of peaceful aliens from the planet Antaria that set up an outpost on Earth in Atlantis 10,000 years ago. The main character is played by Steve Guttenberg, who went to my high school, St. Agnes Boys High School, and David Oliver, who stars in another movie named Daryl. The scenery in certain movies, such as Popeye starring Robin Williams and Shelley Duvall, remind me of living in a colony of Atlantis. Popeye was filmed in Malta, which was an Atlantean territory. I have a past life memory of being a child playing near the water in what is now known as Sweet Haven Village in Malaya, Malta. Especially the scene where Popeye is fighting Brutus and the octopus monster. Popeye was filmed and released in 1980, the year that I was born. The movie Rocket Gibraltar, starring Burt Lancaster, Bill Pullman, and Macaulay Culkin, is a movie about Levi Rockwell, a retired, widowed Hollywood screenwriter who reunites his family at his Long Island estate for his 77th birthday. During the family reunion, Levi dies. Before his death, he requests his family give him a Viking funeral. Although this movie does not have anything directly associated with Atlantis, Atlantis was said to be near the Strait of Gibraltar, and the cinematography reminded me of the shores of Atlantis. The movie Mannequin, starring Kim Cattrall and Andrew McCarthy, was about an ancient Egyptian woman named Emma, or Emmy, who takes refuge in a pyramid and begs the gods to find true love rather than entering an arranged marriage. Emmy vanishes in front of her mother's eyes, and her soul travels throughout the centuries as a muse, inhabiting the work of artists. She inhabits a mannequin that comes to life at night at a department store and falls in love with her soulmate, Jonathan, who works at the store. This movie reminded me of when I lived in ancient Atlantis, Kem, and in ancient Egypt with my soulmate, and that it was part of my mission to find her. I could feel the spirit guides really trying to help me remember my past life memories. Watching those movies helped me feel connected to my home on Atlantis that I missed so much. We lived on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, on Columbus Avenue, which was down the street from Central Park. My mom often took me to the Museum of Natural History and the Metropolitan Museum on a weekly basis. I love going to the Metropolitan Museum the most because of the ancient Egyptian and Sumerian sections. I remembered living in ancient Egypt and would miss it badly. I believe my soulmate was an ancient Egyptian princess in one of our past lives together. I used to walk up close to the sarcophagi of the female mummies and whisper into the display case. I would ask if she was my soulmate, and if not, if she could help me find her. I kept most of this to myself as I was raised in a Catholic household. By the time I had gotten to high school, I had to forget who I really was and masked myself until I couldn't remember my trauma. I had mainly forgotten everything and started focusing on sports, martial arts, and my education. The trauma was too hard, almost too difficult to remember, until an August evening in 1998 when I saw a UFO hovering above Central Park. A few months prior to seeing this UFO, my family adopted a German Shepherd puppy. We named him Chewy, short for Chewbacca. I remember stopping just in front of the Roosevelt statue at the base of the staircase leading up to the museum entrance. I remember two women who stopped by to pet Chewy. Just as they stopped to pet Chewy, I heard a taxi stop so abruptly that you could hear, smell, and see the smoke coming from its screeching tires. I remember cars stopping to see this orange, glowing UFO darting back and forth up in the night sky. I remember the cab driver stepped out of his taxi and started pointing up towards the UFO. Then, it was as if time had stopped. I remember everything getting really quiet and feeling really lightheaded. I then got a migraine out of nowhere. It felt as if the UFO was trying to send me a message to my pineal gland or to my third eye. At that moment, I started remembering all the memories of my past lives, living in Atlantis, and my quest to find my soulmate that I had forgotten since I was a child. I attended Hofstra University, which was also a horrible experience for me. After 3.5 years, I dropped out of college and tried to become a martial arts instructor at the dojo I was working at while attending Hofstra. Years later, in 2009, I would finally meet my soulmate, and we would marry a couple of years later. We both knew the moment that we first saw each other that we were soulmates and that we were going to get married and have children together. We started and ran our own personal training business for 10 years. I started to hone in on my healing abilities and would practice with some of my clients. I became very good at finding and healing pain and injuries in clients. I would heal their pain and in many cases take on their pain. For example, if they had spinal pain, I would take on their pain as they would start to feel better. Lucy encouraged me to follow my ascension path and continue remembering my past lives so that I could continue my mission. Around this time, a friend had recommended that I see a spiritual healer who had the ability to see other people's past lives. That meeting would be pivotal for me as she reminded me of my time in ancient Egypt and confirmed some of what I had remembered. In 2013, me and my family went to Disney World in Florida. During our vacation, when Lucy and I went to EPCOT, I started feeling a tingling sensation on my pineal gland the moment I saw the signature sphere of EPCOT. It got stronger as we approached the sphere, to the point where I started to have a really bad headache. Despite the headache, I was completely fascinated on how Disney took us through humanity's journey through time and our possible future. It wasn't until after eating dinner later that evening that I made the connection between the sphere right at EPCOT, Living with the Land greenhouse, and the Illuminations Reflections of Earth nighttime closing show. The Reflections of Earth had just started as we were leaving the restaurant. We have found an awesome place to watch the show right by the water, and it was amazing. Disney's experimental prototype City of Tomorrow was never completed as Walt Disney died on December 15, 1966 at 65 years old. Even though I am not a fan of Walt Disney, the man, his dream of building a prototype of a futuristic city inspired me. Over the next few years, I studied Nikola Tesla and Edgar Cayce's work. This would inspire me to create a general-purpose technology platform that would move humanity closer towards a Type 1 civilization. I wanted to find the biggest platform that I can think of to spread this message, so I ran for Congress. My goal was to refocus our energy towards protecting all life on Earth and living in balance with nature. I did not care about political agendas or party platforms. Tesla lived and died near my neighborhood and in my voting district in New York City. I ran my campaign in a way that I hoped would make him proud, but knew my chances of winning were close to impossible. My platform was completely different from any other political platform. It focused solely on helping people in need, animal rights, healing the environment, free housing, creating technology to heal the human body from all diseases, creating 3D printing food machines for home use, expanding our space exploration, and shifting our entire grid to a free and clean energy system. And it was at this speech that I realized that I was going down the wrong path and needed to find a different way to accomplish my mission. I found that in order to be successful in the political arena, you had to care more about power than helping others. I canceled my campaign and decided to focus on healing from my trauma and connecting with my higher self. Connecting to my higher self and remembering my past lives has literally saved my life. Everyone has their own mission in life. My mission is to create Project Atlantis and help move humanity towards a Type 1 civilization, and I am going to use this channel to share my ideas, journey, and mission. If you are also interested in moving humanity towards a Type 1 civilization and want to be a part of a global network dedicated to taking part of this change, then please subscribe and join our community of tomorrow. Thank you.